Golf's no different from hockey. Requires talent, self-discipline.
Golf requires goofy pants and a fat ass. You should talk to my neighbor, the accountant, probably a great golfer, huge ass.
How do you measure yourself with other golfers? By height.
It's a very, very special honor.
I'm Paula Creamer, and you're listening.
Well, we're waiting.
Hi, this is Martin Cove, a.k.a. John Kreese from Cobra Kai, and you're listening to
Quiet, Please.
Let the word go out from here across the land. Let Daddy Noonan approve.
Hi, boys. Nice day for golf, isn't it? Quiet, please. Oh, you got secrets, eh?
Hey, this is Shooter McGavin. You're listening to the...
Hey, you guys. Hey, we're trying to have a podcast over here.
Indeed, we are. Welcome once again to Quiet Please, the Golf Podcast. I am Alan Nephew, and as always, we have a panel of golfing experts. And our stock just went up this week because we have a great co-host to join us on the panel. We're chatting Ryder Cup a little bit. We're chatting LPGA, past and present. Bobby Baldessari will chime in about the Woodford Legends event, and that's where our guest is going to be playing soon. And I'm just happy, Andy Hydorn. Good to see you because I'm back in my chair, and I missed seeing everybody last week. That was sad.
Well, I'm certainly glad you're back at the control panel, right where you belong.
Andy was good designated hitter.
Well, you know what, and the chair is warm. It was great. Everything on the control board was exactly where it was meant to be, Bobby. I'm speaking, obviously, Andy Hydorn, Bobby Baldessari, our co-host as well. And Bob, I'm going to let you do the honors because we actually have a great guest with us.
Okay, well, we're all from New England, so we got to drop some wickets in here, right? So I'm starting right out with, we are wicked privileged to have one of our own Bay Staters. Just unbelievable career in the game of golf. Really, an honor to have you here, Pat Bradley, LPGA and World Golf Hall of Famer. A certain guy on the PGA Tour just completed the Grand Slam for the men. Pat is the third player. There's 7 of them total on the LPGA, but Pat is the third player to complete the LPGA Grand Slam. Only player to win 3 or 4 modern day majors in a single season, sort of a la what Tiger did. 2-time LPGA Player of the Year, 6 major championships, 31 tour wins. We could go on and on for a 3-hour show. LPGA World Golf Hall of Famer. Pat, we are wicked excited to have you.
Thank you, Bobby. I'm wicked happy to be with you all. Thank you, fellas. Yes, it was a great run. I think back, I joined the tour in 1974. So I've been on tour, with the LPGA for 51 years. It's amazing when I look back at my career coming from a very small town in Massachusetts, Westford, Mass. Little did I know that my journey in the game would have taken me to such great heights. And of course, now I look forward to being out in Kentucky at the Woodford Invitational with my legend friends. And we're going to be there next week. And it's a great golf course. We're very fortunate to have Woodford Country Club to have the LPGA Legends there. So it's going to be very exciting, but I'm excited to kind of be with all of you tonight.
Well, Pat, I did this to you last year, so I'm ready again with the caddy bid.
There we go. There it is. Ryder Cup.
We'll talk about this. Your nephew Keegan, Ryder Cup captain. You were Solheim Cup captain of the 2000 team, so we'll touch on that. But just in 2-time the stroke low season stroke average winner. I mean, just more and more of what you did in your career is amazing, and I want to try to touch on all of that, but also something very special for you. The Massachusetts Golf House.
Yes, Bobby.
Yeah, you've got some serious company. Donald Ross, Francis Ouimet, and now the Pat Bradley Room at the Massachusetts Golf House, opening July 1st. Over 100 pieces of memorabilia from your career. That's a pretty big deal.
Yes, by last November, 24 boxes 24 boxes were filled with my my trophies and memorabilia that left my home and traveled to Norton, where the Mass Golf Museum and House is there. And you know, little did I know after all of this journey that my trophies, my memorabilia would stay together. And I saw the room. I'm headed up there Monday, actually, to see the room completed with the trophies in place and ready for the opening on July 1st. And I got to tell you guys, when I get up there, we are going to have some nice late night talks with Donald Ross, Francis we met. I got the Curtis sisters just down the hall from me. We are going to have some nice moments at night talking about our journey in this incredible game of golf that we have all enjoyed and love so dearly.
The dog liked it.
Yeah, I don't have a dog, so somebody's got their.
You know what? I've got 5. I got to tell you, it wasn't one of mine, oddly enough.
It wasn't. Well, it wasn't mine either, but.
But it's interesting, fellas. I met Mr. We Met when I was 15. When I was 15 years old, up at Nashua Country Club in Nashua, New Hampshire. He was there visiting a member, and he was also with Gene Saracen. So I have very fond memories of the great Francis We Met, and being able to meet him in person when I was only 15. Didn't know really where my golf journey would be, but here I am going to be right across the hall from him pretty soon, and so it's all very exciting.
Well, Pat, we're live on YouTube, on Facebook, as well as Instagram, and I'd like to throw this out there to the listeners. If anybody has any questions, please chime in. We'll try to get them on air for you, or for anybody on the panel for that matter. But I think they'd rather talk to you. Go ahead, Bobby.
Well, we always lead off with a little bit of a trivia, Pat. So I have a kind of an insider trivia on you. You may know this. This could be a tough one for the listeners. Andy and Alan, you're welcome to chime in. Who was the LPGA player that in a playoff with you was a 2-0 record? So the LPGA player beat you 2 times in playoffs.
I'm sure Pat knows the answer to that question.
Those I try not to remember as well. Gee whiz. I think I lost to Jane Blaylock twice in a playoff. Wheeling, West Virginia, and in Hawaii. Yes.
You've got a great memory. Yep.
Yeah. She got me twice.
Bobby, you don't forget that.
Professional golfers have amazing memories. That must be part of the requirements to be as good as you are.
Well, I got to tell you, fellas, it's interesting. When Keegan called me to let me know that he was going to be the Ryder Cup captain, he said to me, Pat, we've made history. And I was like, Keegan, what are you saying? He says, well, there's no other family in Solheim or Ryder Cup history that have relatives being captains. And so that was a very special moment that Keegan related to me that day that he was calling me to tell me that he was Ryder Cup captain. And I remember when the Solheim Cup was the first meeting with the Solheim, it was down at Lake Nona, 1990. And Kathy Whitworth was our captain. There were only 8 of us at the time. We were brand new. We weren't sure, how this, Solheim would work out. And, nowadays the analytics and, what ball are you playing, odd, even, we had no idea what we were doing. So Nancy and I were the first, Nancy Lopez and I, we were the first team off. And we're on the practice putting green, getting ready to go to the first tee. And Nancy says to me, geez, Pat, how do you feel? I said, well, Nancy, I'm nervous. I said, how do you feel? Well, I'm nervous. What should we do on the first hole with, odd, even? I said, well, Nancy, you're kind of an even keeled person. I can be an oddball, at times, So that's how I hit the first tee shot in Solheim Cup history. And Nancy is still pissed at missing that moment in golf history. She's not happy that she did not think it through going to that first tee. And now it's all history. So if there's a trivia question on who hits the first shot, you can bet the farm that it was me and not Nancy Lopez.
It's always going to be the oddball, not the even keel.
Yeah. Exactly. There you go, Andy.
That's awesome.
I see two future trivia questions for Boston Bob in that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
She's still upset. She missed out on a history moment.
Hey, Pat, real quick, when you would play a new golf course on the tour, and then when you went back to the next year, really for the Woodford Club here, you played last year.
Yes.
Had a good tournament, but when you come back a second time, do you look at the course a little bit different? Do you draw on the memories? Do you try to, what's your strategy?
Yeah. I mean, I think when I come back a second time, I really am concentrating around the greens, because that's where, the scoring is. And yes, you take in from tee to green, the whole expanse of the hole. But the second time, third time around, I'm really trying to concentrate on pin placements, where they might be, the breaking and everything, because the scoring is done around the greens.
Yeah. On the first hole, we're going to put the hole location. No, I can't.
Well, I tell you, Woodford is it's a great test of golf. The par threes are nothing to take lightly. They challenge you every day, the par threes at Woodford Country Club. So I will concentrate a lot on the par threes, because those are important golf holes there.
Yeah, they're very, very good. A lot of undulations, and
Yes.
I know everybody appreciated. We're wrapped around by horse farms. You're hitting shots, and I half jokingly say the horses are whinnying and neighing, cheering you on. But it's a pretty spot, and we're so thrilled and privileged. Everybody in the field it's an amazing field led by you, and everybody's excited in this Lexington area to see you.
Well, Randy and Chet are just two great gentlemen that have allowed us to use that facility to test our abilities, to test our skills, and to keep our dream alive as legends or as veterans of our game. So we really look forward to it. We get the membership has been wonderful to us, very, very welcoming. And again, as I say, it's a great test.
Pat, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned that first Solheim Cup in 1990.
Yes.
At what point did the Solheim Cup go from being like a novelty fun thing to being like a serious grinding competition? Because I know there have been some tense moments over the years. So at what point did it kind of make that transition?
Yeah, Andy, I think after the Ryder Cup took over 35 years for it to be what it is today. For the longest time, it was just ho hum USA all the way. But with Solheim, Europe became a very viable opponent very quickly. And it didn't take the Solheim that long to be one of the premier women's events in all of golf. As I say, the Ryder Cup took 35 years. It might have by the I don't know, the fourth or fifth venue, it was off and running, and has become really a great event, a premier event on women's golf, in women's golf.
Let me piggyback off of that. What was your favorite venue of the ones that you?
Yeah, well, of course, the first one was, the first one has such a memorable moment for all of us. As I say, there was only 8 of us. We had the great Kathy Whitworth as our captain, which, was wonderful. But I mean, I think Wales was with Judy Rankin. We ended up winning in Wales, coming back and fighting hard. Judy was a great captain for us. So I think Wales was my mom. My mom was with me at that Solheim. So that brought back a lot of great memories.
Bobby?
Oh, well, I don't have anything right now, but
well, I have another question.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Andy.
So this is going to be a little off the beaten path here, but I'm dying to know if you pay any attention to it, what your thoughts are on the competitive nature of the women's basketball game now with Caitlin Clark and everything that's going on there. I'm interested to get your take on that.
Yes, Andy. I got to tell you, Andy, I didn't watch much women's basketball, but I have to honestly admit that Caitlin has brought my eyes to the game. I played basketball when I was in high school, so I loved the sport. I love all sports. But yes, Caitlin has brought many eyes to women's basketball, and that's great. I'm happy for them, and hopefully our new commissioner will be able to capitalize with our players, Nelly, our players to bring more eyes to the women's game. I mean, I think our commissioner has to be one of a great communicator with women. We're in it, a lot of different characters in our game. But also, I think the key too is having the ability to negotiate with sponsors and with television. I think television is is the huge piece of our puzzle to get more eyes on the women's golf.
Look, actually, let me ask you a question about that, because our good friend, Mr. Bob Baldessari there, had the privilege of working with Dean Beeman, who was on our show previously. And when the tour split off, and Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, as you are our resident historian, the tour was nothing. It had a file cabinet and a phone for the men's tour. Just from a perspective, how have you've seen the LPGA? How has it progressed to where it is today, and where do you think it can go or should go?
Well, I know, boys, when I was on tour, we were a small family.
Right.
The only player that might have an agent was Nancy Lopez. Most of us did not have an agent. In today's world, the LPGA is big business. It's on a major stage in the world of sports. Every player, every LPGA player has an agent. So dealing. We were a more hands-on group of players. The other thing is that I've seen different in my era. We were known as players. In today's era, these young ladies are athletes. I mean, we were athletes too, but these young players, they go by athlete first, and then they're a professional player. So just the wording has changed over the years with our game. And of course, now it's become very global. We didn't travel outside. I mean, we might have gone to Japan at the end of the year for a couple events. When I remember when Colgate-Palmolive first came on the LPGA Tour as a sponsor, We did travel to Australia. We traveled to Manila, Hong Kong, Singapore. But now the game is very global, and we have to look at that perspective. We have to open the doors to the game. There is no borders in the world of golf. I mean, there are no out of bounds. There are no lines of the field. It's a global game, and it has touched every part of the world, and that's a good thing.
Bobby?
Yeah. So Craig Kessler, who's the new LPGA commissioner, he was at PGA headquarters. He came in after I left PGA headquarters, but everybody I've talked to at PGA, and I've met Craig a couple of times, everybody's really high on him. To Alan's point, I think he's probably the right guy at the right time, and I can see him doing a great job. And hopefully, with what we're doing here at the Woodford Club and with the Woodford Legends Invitational, the Legends Tour, we want to do our part to get that to, justify and just really showcase all the competitiveness that you and all the players have. And
Right, Bob.
we want to help here to get that. So whatever the tour looks like, it's like, as you said, the women's game gets like 30 years behind times. So we feel like the Champions Tour now is where 30 years ago the Legends were right now. So where do you see the Legends Tour maybe in the next 3, 5, 10 years?
Yes, Bob. I agree with you, hon. I mean, I got my fingers crossed that Craig, I understand us honoring our founders, of course. That is extremely important. And of course, growing the game. But there is a group in between there of 45 to 55 or, 57 or whatever that needs to be addressed and not forgotten. Just because a woman goes through menopause or their child have their empty nest doesn't mean that they should end their career. And you folks at Woodford is helping us to showcase our skills at this stage of our lives. And I'm hoping Greg sees that the importance of not closing the door on that group of players and just focusing on our founders and our youngsters. I understand those two are very important, but there is a group in the middle that needs not to be forgotten. And Woodford Invitational is one of those events that has not forgotten.
Yeah, last week with Laura and Trish, it was the same sentiment. It was about the fact that there's still a desire to play.
Yes. Andy, the USGA, which I won an Open in 1981 at LaGrange Country Club. The USGA, I was 66 years old when my first tee time was listed. I mean, I thought I was going to miss my tee time because they waited 16 years. I know 50 is the senior number with USGA. I understand that. And I would go to many of the USGA end of the year meetings and just to show them a face of a player that because I'm 50, I still want to be competitive. I still want a chance. They covered every age group on the USGA except our women's age group. The Champions Tour has had a senior open for almost 25 years now. We are now on, I think, our seventh, maybe, women's senior open. So I'm hoping that that more doors will open for that group of the LPGA Legends is 45 and up. They're talking about even lowering that to maybe 42 just to, help the world of competition in that age group continue on.
Well, there are some great names in your group, and we were looking at the leaderboard last week of the ladies LPGA Championship, or what's the name of the event that was last week? Sorry,
the LPGA Senior Championship.
LPGA Senior Championship, and there's a lot of great names on that leaderboard, and I agree. We need to see more, not less of that.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we're not looking for, a 15 tournament schedule. 10 events would be, would be really great. But thanks to the Woodford Invitational, we got a place to play next week.
And
absolutely.
To your point, Pat, it would be great for golf, plain and simple, because young ladies growing up, they hear your name, they hear some of the other names of the people that are playing in the LPGA Legends now, and what a great opportunity to get some insight and motivation to go on. There's great, and you're spot on. And I actually wanted to give a shout out. Andy didn't even know. So one of our friends of the show, Samantha Wagner, great athlete, great young golfer. She's sitting as the first alternate for the U.S. Open right now. After shooting -7, wasn't it, Andy? I think he was 7 under.
7 under, yeah.
These girls can flat out play, and they deserve to get recognized. But then again, all the ladies deserve to get recognized.
Well, I appreciate that, fellas. I mean, they're still working hard. They're still trying to be relevant. Those, last week at the LPGA Senior Championship, and then the Senior Women's Open, which is going to be in August at San Diego Country Club. It just shows that they really are, really have that desire, that commitment to keep working.
Hey, Pat, I wanted the timing here is perfect. As you said, you won the U.S. Open.
Yes.
Women's Open. You've won 6 major championships. You were always known as a keen competitor. You raised your game on the toughest golf courses. In the U.S. Women's Open starting this week, and did you prepare differently for a major? Was your mindset a little bit different, or how'd you approach that?
Well, it's funny. Yes, Bob. I mean, the USGA was always, a different setup. They really, they really made the first 2 days pretty tough to weed out the field. The pin placements usually were much tougher on Thursday and Friday. I always remembered, in a women's U.S. Open, never be above the hole, because usually those basically were the firmest and the fastest greens that we ever played all year long was a U.S. Open. Of course, the fairways were much more narrower. So preparing, I sometimes you would putt I would, maybe putt on a hardwood floor because of the fastness. But it was always, it was always a challenge. And I loved the U.S. Open because it wasn't driver wedge. It was using all 14 clubs in your bag. And, many times, par was great. Bogeys were okay in an open. So yeah, it was more of a, you kind of course management more than anything else. If you're going to miss the green at an open, don't short side yourself. Don't, as I say, don't be above the pin, whatever. So there were some challenges when we used to play the open. And of course, it always seemed to be the longest yardage that we played during that year was at a U.S. Open. And I think Erin Hills is going to be like 6,800 yards. That's a pretty good distance.
That's a good one. Yeah.
They were making the comparison to the men's game, saying that they were playing an 8,300 yard golf course.
Yeah. And of course, the other thing, Andy, in today's world, in my day, they would never really consider playing, having us play, Pebble. as an open. So it is exciting to see these young ladies have the same opportunity to play a Pebble Beach U.S. Open or an Oakmont U.S. Open. Patty Sheehan did win an Open at Oakmont. But it's nice to see these young women being challenged by playing some of the golf courses that, held the PGA event.
I think that's only right.
So that's a nice little segue there, Andy. Would be, what would be Pat's favorite course to have played maybe on the hot seat for a U.S. Open?
Are we ready to go right to the hot seat, Alan?
If you're ready to go to the hot seat, the question is Pat ready to go to the hot seat?
Guys, Salem Country Club here in New England was in 1983. That was really that was a classic U.S. Open a golf course to challenge your skills. And I remember too, when the USGA comes in and takes the golf course over for the championship, they kind of handle everything, like what time the water gets turned on, how much time the water is on. Well, I remember that the golf course at Salem was getting very, very burnt. And I think someone snuck on and turned the faucets on like at 1 o'clock in the morning to try to help the golf course with from the lack of water during the event.
That's a great golf course. Jeez.
Yep.
Love that.
Weird club. It's a weird club, but a great golf course. Okay,
right,
we're ready. We're ready for the hot. So just quick questions, quick answers, whatever comes to your mind. So
all right, Andy.
First one, what is your best 18-hole score? It doesn't need to be in a tour event. It can be your best score.
It was I shot 63. I was on Sunday at the Nestle's World Series down at Pine Isle, Georgia. I was 7 under. 7 under was the leading score. I was even on Sunday morning, and 7 under was leading. And I shot 63, 9 under, and ended up winning the event. Nobody could catch me.
That's awesome. Okay, so what's your favorite course you've ever played?
Yeah, my favorite course I've ever played is Old Head in Ireland. I'm an honorary member there, and I enjoy going over there and playing, the Irish courses.
Okay, what course is on your bucket list?
Oh, I would say Augusta National would be on my bucket list.
Yeah, well, they need to figure out a way to get all of your generation on Augusta National. That's just,
wouldn't that be something, hon? Just,
they need to figure out how to get me on there too, but
one day, that's all. I mean, we'd be in and out of there quick.
Exactly.
Patty, if you could just drop a couple balls in the practice round.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, who's your favorite golfer of all time?
Oh, goodness gracious, of all time. Mickey Wright on the women's side. She was really I had the honor of playing with Mickey down in Atlanta, Georgia at an event just before she really kind of retired. So that was really kind of special to say I did have a round of golf with Mickey Wright. On the men's side, I'm going to say my nephew, Keegan.
That's a great answer. Okay, what's the most cringeworthy look on the golf course for you?
Cringeworthy?
For other people, that is, yeah.
Wearing a Yankees hat.
Yes, that's it. Somebody asked me about Keegan. Keegan's strength and leadership. And I said to them, well, I'll tell you the strength he has. You go into Yankee Stadium with a Boston Red Sox cap. That's taken a lot of courage and strength.
That's right.
To go to Yankee Stadium. a cringe factor. Gee whiz, I don't,
Is it like iron covers? Is it black socks? Is it like, what is it?
well, I don't use anything but a white wooden tee. I cringe when I see plastic.
There you go. Perfect. Okay, what's your favorite halfway house indulgence?
Oh yeah. Probably a hot dog.
Okay. What's your favorite post-round beverage?
Well, now that there was a time where there were those post-round beverages, but now it's a fever tree, Ellsbury fever tree.
Oh, you can't say fever tree. You can't do that to me, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Okay. So when you're playing golf for fun with friends, is it gambling or just playing for fun?
Just playing for fun. I gambled enough for 30 years out on tour. Now it's just for fun.
Okay. This is my favorite question. So quickly describe the best shot you've ever hit, time, place, and circumstance.
The best shot I ever hit. Okay.
What pops in your mind is the most memorable, great shot you've ever hit?
Yeah, I know exactly. It was the 18th hole at LaGrange Country Club. The year I won the Women's U.S. Open in 1981. It was a 18th hole was a par 5. I had about a 65, 70-yard wedge shot for my third shot. And Andy, this is the God's honest truth. I remember distinctly taking my wedge out of my bag. I remember distinctly stepping over, setting up over the ball. I do not remember taking the club back.
Stephen Yellen would love that story,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yep.
Like,
The next thing I know, the ball is in flight and it landed 2 feet from the hole at the 18th hole at LaGrange.
that's awesome. So what do you cherish most about this game of golf?
I cherish the challenge that it gave me every single day I played it. I never took anything for granted. It was never a ho-hum situation, moment. I cherish the challenge that it gave me, and for me to persevere and reach the highest point, the highest level that you can in our game as a Hall of Famer. Because the interesting thing is, Andy, my MO in this game, for some reason, I don't explain. I can't explain it. I wouldn't want any other young player to have my MO. I succeeded I succeeded not for the joy of success, but for the fear of failing.
That's interesting.
And I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but it was my cross that I bared. And, some days were better than others. I lost more than I won, but the perseverance allowed me to stay tough and reach Hall of Fame status. So I'm very grateful.
That's awesome. So the last final question, how many hole-in-ones do you have in your career?
Yes, I noticed my nephew has had 3 this year. He's 9 short. I have 12.
Wow.
Well, Pat Bradley, you survived the Quiet Please hot seat.
Okay, thank you.
Well played. Really good.
Andy, since you're on such a roll, and by the way, I feel obligated to do this.
Yes, that's the anti-fever tree brand right there, Pat Bradley. That would be Q Mixers. So, give us a shot sometime.
That was a bogey there, I guess, Sandy.
Yeah.
Or did I double that hole?
Just a bogey. It's fair.
I'm 2 over par now, fellas. I got to find some birdies here. I'm 2 over par.
Andy, I'm going to steal part of your LIV report in the fact that they are saying that the contracts are coming due and some are not going to be renewed. Is that what you're hearing?
There is no LIV report.
Okay.
Are they even a thing anymore?
There you go. Let's take it off the screen.
That was quick.
There you go. Let's just go to this one. Don't be that guy.
Okay, so we have a candidate for this week's Don't Be That Guy. And unfortunately, it has to be Lucas Glover. For those of you that don't know, Lucas came out and shed a little darkness on the fact that there's some players out on tour that hide their gamer drivers so they don't get tested and pulled. Wow. And I heard otherwise this week, that if a driver has been tested once and is conforming, then it can't be pulled. So I don't know what part of that's true, what part of it's not true, but I think it's pretty, difficult territory to be treading, saying something like that about your fellow professionals.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
We've always had a don't be that guy. There's never been a don't be that girl, female, because they all do the right thing.
Exactly.
I remember though, guys, in the 80s, we were tested for the grooves on tour. We were tested. Our grooves were tested back in the day of in the 80s. The square grooves in our irons. So yeah, testing has never left us.
Bobby, actually, you know what? I'm going to see. We're quickly approaching. I just want one more final thought on your nephew, because
yes.
I'm up here in the Northeast. I'm outside of Philly, and I'm strongly considering. I don't know if I'll wear my Boston hat, but I'm strongly considering going to Bethpage. He seems to be pouring his heart into this.
I agree, fellas.
Happen.
Yep, I have to tell you, fellas, 1999, when the Ryder Cup was at the Country Club in Brookline.
Right.
Keegan was 12 years old. We were all there. I was there. Ben Crenshaw was the captain. My brother Mark, Keegan's dad, was there. We were following. We were watching. And I remember on the 18th hole, it was so surrounded with gallery that, Keegan at 12, he couldn't see anything. So Keegan's dad, my brother Mark, put him on his shoulders so he could see the final of the 18th hole. And the excitement and everything was so incredible. I remember Keegan turning to his dad and he goes, "Dad, I want to be a Ryder Cupper one day." And from that moment on, Keegan gave up his skiing, his racing and skiing, and he focused on his golf. And I've been so proud of his career and all that he has done on the PGA Tour. And of course, his 2 Ryder Cup moments, even though he lost both Ryder Cups at that time. But I've never been more proud of him than that full swing moment when that phone call came, and he took it with such grace
100%.
that it still gets me when I think about it. And so I believe, guys, that the more they looked at Keegan, the PGA of America wanted to right a wrong. And the more they looked at Keegan, the more they said to themselves, "Hey, you know what? This is the man." He went to St. John's in New York City. He's played Bethpage when he was in college. He knows the atmosphere there. He knows that the crowd will jump on them just as quickly as they'll jump on Europe if we're not watching our P's and Q's during the event. So I believe he is going to make a difference. He is going to bring the tours together. He said his first statement when he was named captain, "I'm going to take the very best 12 Americans, no matter where they are." So he's ready for it. The interesting thing is, guys, is, if he qualifies on 6, he'll play. What if he's 7th? Do you think he should pick himself? If he's 7th,
Yes.
maybe 9th or 10th, I don't know. But I think picking Jim Furyk was a very strategic move on Keegan's part, just in case, he qualifies for the Ryder Cup. He'll have Jim's experience as a Ryder Cup captain and as a President's captain to watch his back.
That's a great point, and
I love
a great
that.
thing to think about.
I love that.
I love it.
I got the rosary out every day, guys. I'm saying my prayers that we'll have a great Ryder Cup in September at Bethpage Black.
I think they need Keegan as a player. I think, like, I look at that potential team and you start to wonder, they could really use Keegan as a player.
Well, I actually sat here, you're talking about the tenacity to not fail, and I'm sitting there thinking, I can tell how you two are related. All right, final 18th green. We're going to go Mr. Hydor, myself, Pat, final thought, and then Bobby, bring it home. How about that?
Okay, like I always have. I always can't.
You've got 2 of them, don't you?
Can't stick to one thought. So watching, for those of you who are watching the NCAA men's finals today, it's going on right now, actually. Last night was the semifinals, was just absolute, must-see TV. It was incredible. And we're talking about some of the most recruited kids in the country playing for Oklahoma State. And these kids were, and I hate to use the word, but it's true, they were choking on their Cheerios. Like,
it didn't look good yesterday, Andy. I agree.
That poor kid from Oklahoma State missed like 3 5-footers in a row, and then shanked a pitch shot on 18 and still won his match. So, but it just, as we always say, golf, you're always on the edge of disaster, and those boys were feeling it yesterday.
Yeah, and I think this afternoon, Virginia was up in 3 or 4 matches
early,
but they were still playing, Andy. So yeah, Virginia, that would be their first.
Yeah.
If they pull it off, and of course Oklahoma State has they have 11 titles.
Yeah, exactly.
So
my second point, and we're gonna leave this as a cliffhanger for next week. We're not ignoring the fact that they announced a new format for the Tour Championship. There's a lot to think about, a lot to talk about, and can't wait to dig into that next week.
Oh, I should play suspenseful music right then.
Yeah.
All right, my final thought is congratulations, Charlie Woods.
Yes.
AJGA Tour event. And for everybody out there that's given that kid a hard time, let him be a kid. Let him develop the way he needs to develop. And he's got a big shadow. Just let him play golf.
Great point.
Pat, final thought.
My final thought is, again, Bob, thank you so much for all that you do for our game. And thank you for having us out there at Woodford. We look forward, I look forward to being there and playing that great golf course and being with all our Legends friends.
Well, I will put the capstone on this show, and we're so overjoyed and privileged, really, Pat. I mean, you lead the Star Brigade with Laura Davies, certainly recently, Lita Lindley last year's Senior Women's Open, Hollis Stacy, Becky Morgan and Katrina Matthew won last year. They're coming back. We got your good friend Jane Blaylock that has as I keep telling people, Jane has a record Tiger doesn't have. That's kind of big. Julie Inkster, Dame Laura Davies, Trish Johnson, certainly Michelle McGann are crowd favorites. So we have so many. I mean, just so many great names, as Alan had mentioned before. Just established stars of the game of golf, and really, you've written the history books of the game. So a lot of excitement here in Lexington, getting ready for next week's Woodford Legends Invitational. And anybody wants some tickets, Saturday, June 7th is Family Day. All the kids can get in free. We have free hats for the first 100 kids. Sunday, we're saying thank you to all the local heroes, first responders. Everybody gets in free on Sunday, June 8th. And you can get more information, more tickets. And I think we have, if you know somebody like me, might be able to get you to the Pro-Am if you still want to play. But all the information's at the woodfordclubfoundation.org, woodfordclubfoundation.org. And we will see you next week, Jane. And I'll have the full report the following week for the tournament. Okay. So thanks again for being with us.
Thank you, fellas, so much for your interest and your support of women's golf and golf in general. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Pat.
Until next week.
You only have one opportunity to sell your golf property. Shouldn't you partner with an expert that offers you 30-plus years of golf industry experience, combined with the reach of a global leader in real estate? Colliers International Golf Brokerage and Advisory Services understands your unique business needs. Whether it is brokerage, management, and consulting, be reassured that the market leader in the business of golf is providing you the real answers and practical solutions you deserve. Contact Golf Talk Live co-host and Colliers Golf Advisory Services member Alan Depew today at 717-554-8519. That's 717-554-8519.